This is the Jeff Crilley Show on Talk Radio 1190.
Welcome back to the Jeff Crilley Show. We're going to be talking about entrepreneurs in this segment. My guest is Kolton Krottinger. He is the CEO and founder of Law of Attraction Brothers Events. What is that exactly, Kolton?
It's an event planning company I started in 2016, and I launched it having the world's largest Super Soaker battle.
That is great. I mean, North Texas is home to a lot of entrepreneurs. You know, Mark Cuban, the mindset. Why not do it? How did you come up with that idea?
Really, I was broke, and I just got out of a homeless situation, and I had an idea for an event, and I put it on Facebook, and the next day I had about 10,000 people, and then a couple days later about 30,000 people on there. And
my goodness.
The event was a success, and then started a business after it.
Now, you got to tell me the homeless story. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, so after I got out of the Navy in 2013, I developed really bad anxiety. It was a point where I couldn't drive a car. I spent about a year locked in a bedroom. I had agoraphobia and everything, and then I actually ended up in a homeless shelter in Pensacola. And I tried the therapy and everything, and then this when I had no choice but to figure out my own anxiety and how to beat it.
How did you beat it?
I guess the secret to it is creating a new environment and facing your fears. And like I said, I tried everything, and I had no desire to develop a program, but I started, I beat my own anxiety. I started sharing it with friends, and they were like, "You got to share this with the world." So we've developed this program.
Do you think people who have anxiety are looking in the wrong places? I mean, often they're turning to medication, or they're doing something that isn't fixing the problem.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no real answer. There's lots of books, self-help books and stuff like that, but there's no true answer on how to beat anxiety. I've never seen it, and I've tried everything.
And so when you feel anxious now, because all of us do, what do you do?
I really just I wrap my head around understanding that the brain controls the body. So, those tense moments, you start feeling stressed and anxious. You got to understand. You got to talk to yourself. You've got to realize that you're safe and nothing's wrong and you're okay.
And you're about to launch a major initiative here related to anxiety. Is that right?
Yes. So I'm launching a book hopefully in January called Anxiety Hackers, and we're actually giving it away for free.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I think I've seen studies where like 4 out of 5 workers in America are stressed out. I feel like America's more stressed out than ever before. I say we're wired and we're tired. We're drinking Red Bull to get up. We've always got a laptop in our hands, and we're answering work emails after hours. Americans never get a break, do they?
Absolutely not. It's over 40 million people in the U.S. over the age of 18 with anxiety, and it's something that's not really talked about. It's not something that, you go and talk to your friends about. So I think there's just people don't talk about it.
And even young people, I think a lot of baby boomers would be surprised that young people are stressed out. Absolutely. Because the baby boomers are like, oh, well, you're young and carefree and live life. You're in your 20s. It's the best time of your life. But a lot of 20-somethings are stressed out.
Absolutely.
Where's that stress coming from, do you think?
I believe it's the status. I mean, just seeing the magazines and with the Facebook and the social media and seeing what you should be doing and what you should look like and what how much money you should have, what you should be driving. I think there's a lot of stress with that. I mean, a lot of pressure.
They call it Facebook envy. You know, because everybody posts. You never see people posting their worst family vacation. It's always
absolutely
their best day ever, right? Yep. And it creates kind of an illusion that somebody else's life is better than yours.
Absolutely.
So tell me more about your event company, because I know that has grown by leaps and bounds. What year did you start it?
Last year, 2016. So last June was the first annual Super Soaker Battle, and then I'm having the second annual Super Soaker Battle next June. In May, I had the world's largest dog day at Dr. Pepper Ballpark.
Cool.
And so it was a lot of fun. It's grown since putting it up online. I've worked with General Motors, Hasbro, Nestle, Vita Coco. They've all reached out to me to be sponsors at my events.
Okay, tell me about the dog day.
Oh, it was. Well, one day, we were sitting at a coffee shop and we were seeing, so many people walking their dogs, and we're like, we should create an event around dogs. And, again, we just put it online, and it kind of went a little viral, and so then we just created an event around it. So.
Now, for a guy who used to have severe anxiety problems, you have an event company, and there's a lot of anxiety associated to hosting events.
Oh, absolutely.
You get a bunch of dogs together. What happens if the dogs start attacking each other? Does that create anxiety for you?
Absolutely. I think that's why following my program helped me so much.
Maybe you should have started a company about Zen and yoga and meditation.
Yeah.
That's a tough way to make a living. But what are some things on your bucket list? We're going to be talking to a gentleman here in a little bit about bucket list stuff. What are some things on your bucket list?
I want to have my program be the number one anxiety program in the world. So that's my initiative, and that's what I'm going for. And everything I've set my mind to, I've been able to achieve, and so that's what makes me excited about this. I know I'll be able to do it. So.
I think especially coming from that dark place where you weren't leaving your home. To now being, head of a very successful event company and launching an anxiety initiative. I mean, that's a journey.
Yeah.
And you're a young man. How old are you?
I just turned 28.
28. Wow. To be so successful so early, especially with the adversity that you faced, I think is very impressive.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I like to tell people there's nothing special about me. I don't have any special talents. I don't have a degree. And I definitely like to tell people that anybody can do anything you set your mind to.
You mentioned earlier being homeless for a brief time. What was that like?
It was tough. I've lived in the shelters. I've lived in boats with no electricity, no toilets. I've lived in a barn. I've lived on many couches. It's just it's tough. And whenever you have a lot of drive to change your situation. That's got to be number one. That's got to be number one, is changing your situation, create a new environment. And so that's all I could focus on. I couldn't really focus on the negatives at that time.
There's a great artist here in Dallas. His name is Hal Samples, and he famously photographs homeless people. And he does it, he says, because he wants to make them visible, that so many people will see a homeless person on the side of the road or walking down the street, and they won't look at him. Did you experience that?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's, whenever you're at your low points, you'll see it's pretty lonely. It can be pretty lonely. And I think, and the second you start doing good, the second you start being successful, then all of a sudden everyone sees you, and, it sucks.
Absolutely. Well, give some advice to the people listening to this now and maybe on YouTube later on if they're facing anxiety, if they're facing adversity and they don't feel like leaving the house. What are the first steps to pulling yourself out of a bad situation?
Don't label yourself. Don't label yourself, and don't be labeled by others. You've got to create a new environment. You can't let your past dictate your future. You just got to understand that, you will feel better, and you can get through it, and you've got to focus on that. That's got to be your number one priority.
How do you feel about antidepressants?
And I talk about it in the book. I don't tell people to just stop taking your medicine. I say, if you can work off of it. Because even if you go through my program on antidepressants and then you get off medication, it changes everything up. So then you have to go through the program again. So I say if you can work off of it, but again, I won't tell anyone not to take them.
Sure. How important is sleep?
Very important. Very important. I try to sleep 8 hours a day, but
in terms of stress, I mean, people who are just, I'll just work harder. I mean, I used to have the motto, I will sleep when I'm dead. That's a bad way to live life, isn't it?
It is, and I would like to tell people they need to sleep more, but at the same time, I work 16 hours a day, and so I don't really sleep too much. I try to sleep, as much as I can, but definitely I can notice, your levels of anxiety going down if you can sleep better.
So how do people learn more about you and your program and your event company?
You can just go on Facebook and type in Anxiety Hackers, and you'll pull us up, and you pull me up and add me on Facebook.
And your event company, what's your website?
It's LOABROS.com.
And that stands for?
Law of Attraction Brothers.
Love it. Thank you so much, Kolton.
Thank you
for
so
being
much
on
for
the
having me
show.
on the show.
You bet. Coming up next, the inspirational story of a group that's making a huge difference in a neighborhood in South Dallas. That's next on the Jeff Crilley Show.
You're listening to The Jeff Crilley Show on Talk Radio 1190.